He then he named 44 Indians who hold top positions in Guyana. And his conclusion was that they got there because of their race. Now, many of these people have worked 20, 30 years, given their life to public service. We always believe that people should qualify for their opportunities. People of all races have positions in government, and we have ensured that that happens. But is the AFC saying, the same party that some comrades said was a Douglas party? Comrade, they're not Douglas party. You're disparaging Douglas people. You're calling Douglas people a bad name, saying they belong to the AFC. They belong to the PPP too. They don't have anyone in the AFC. But they go wrong and say that they're not racist. But every day they preach a racial line with Nigel Hughes and Arifa Volcan, that Nigel Hughes makes some trips to Barbados to meet. They do this all the time. Why doesn't Kaichor News and Starbuck News ask them the question that this man who walks around with Nagamutu and with Ramjatan, who believes that every Indian in this country who has a top job got it because of his race, as though people can't be qualified for top jobs in this country. And he is in the AFC. But the Kaichor and Starbuck will never expose that too. They need to expose Hamilton Green, the fossil, the barnacle Green, who sits in the city hall and extorts people. He's been asking the businessmen, calling them every day. At least 10 of them said to me. And he said to them, you got to give us some money for the elections. Because, you know, when the violence starts, PPP can't protect you. He's extorting people, this Hamilton Green. And I plan to ask the police to investigate it, because Hamilton Green lives in a fantasy era. He lives in another world. But let me make it clear to him, this is a different time. If you mess around with people, if you try to promote racism, we're going to lock you up in Guyana. Today, this is a different era. Comrades, Rupner Rhine, the same Rupner Rhine too. He went to Bartica. Why doesn't the Saarbrück News and Kaichor News listen to what he said in Bartica? He said we are rigging the elections. He's basically saying that Suraj Bali and GCOM, they're rigging the elections. We have a ton of international observers that we have invited. We have a ton of local observers. We don't need to rig. Look at this crowd here. Look at this crowd. Why would we need to rig? But then, guess what he said? Because we will rig, people will come out on the streets afterwards. Rupner Rhine and the others know they're going to lose. He wants to prepare the ground for violence after the elections. We're going to deal with them too. We're going to deal with them. Why don't they ask Nagamutu, the Starbuck News and Kaichor News, is this not the ultimate form of bribery when he talks about our party is corrupt now? 4 or 5 months ago, when he was trying to be our presidential candidate, we were not corrupt because he lost, because we rejected him, because we know who he is. He now accepted an offer from the AFC to be vice president. Is this not the ultimate form of bribery, that you would jump ship just for a position? But let me tell you, AFC, where Ramjatan will become president of the next rum shop closest here. And Moses Nagamotu will be vice president. Last night I went to the Edward Village. And guess what? They passed around a flyer and they had Ramjatan as a prime ministerial candidate. Trotman is toying with them. And why doesn't Saarbrück News and Kaichor News ask Trotman where he was when all of the people were beaten on the street at election time, when they drape Blackie's flag, coffin with the national flag, and call him a hero after he had shot a soldier and made him blind for his whole life? Why don't they ask Trotman about that? Why don't they ask Trotman about the 2 boys who were killed in his office? They will never examine them. these people who are running, whole day they're harassing Donald Ramatar. But he's clean as a whistle and strong, and they can't find anything on him. But the Starbuck knew. But they're not interested in finding out about this. And they're giving Felix a wonderful write-up. Gail Teixeira has exposed Felix. He said he didn't know Roger Khan, the drug dealer. But Gail Teixeira has pointed out that Felix himself admitted that he and Roger Khan used to visit the same home together because he used to see the mother and Roger Khan, the daughter. And they used to go to the rum shop. Felix used to, in fact, he cut the ribbon at one of Roger Khan's businesses. So, comrades, why wouldn't the Starbuck News and Kaicho News ask them about these things? You know why? Because they support them. They want to bring us down. So when they decide to be objective, that's when Jagdeo would stop cussing them. But right now, I'm in a cuss mode. So I will continue cussing them. But our party doesn't remain in cussing mode all the time. We believe we're strong. And if anyone tries to take us on, we'll take them back on. We'll do that. But we have our eyes firmly fixed on the future. Every time you hear us talk, it's about the future. It's about low-carbon strategy. It's about information, communication, technology. It is about catapulting us into a modern era with a new economy. It is about expanding education to world-class standard. In our manifesto, we have education becoming a tradable sector. It's about growing national income. It is about expanding services. It is about maintaining our macroeconomy. We can do this because we have the experience. We understand to do it. We have bright people. Donald Ramatar is an economist. We have a ton of young people on this stage who are experienced. Ramjatan, all he did was a law practice. He and Trotman ran a law practice. Can we entrust the future of this country to them? Can you entrust your children's future to them? In fact, Ramjatan's best answer on economic policy, when they asked him what he'll do, he said, well, I do a lot of things because I have a good heart. Can't explain, can't understand. But they will take this country back to the era when the PNC mashed it up because they spent more than we earned. They spent on the wrong things. Up to just a few years ago, we finished paying $300 million for the hydropower that they were planning to build in the 1970s. And they borrowed and then left all the steel in the jungle to rot. A few years ago, we finished paying back for that. We paid back $1.7 billion in PNC debt. And yet, we have moved this, that's US dollars, close to 400 billion Guyana dollars in PNC debt. We have reduced our debt and yet expanded services. Today, we have the strongest economy in the Caribbean. We have the highest level of international reserves. Our country is stable. We can fund our way. We know what to manage. We know how to manage. We've demonstrated that all the time. So, comrades, there's one choice on November 28th, and that is the People's Progressive Party Civic. And Donald Ramatar will be, shall be, must be our next president. Thank you very much.